In this episode of the world's #1 marketing show, serial entrepreneur Dale Beaumont shares how he's built $3 million businesses and manages, wait for it, to take 3 months off each year. And who doesn't want a bit of that?
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
G'day motivated business owners everywhere. It is Timbo Reid here, and a very, very big well done for finding your way back inside the movement that we lovingly call the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Now that's a movement laser focused, by the way, if you are a new listener, on helping you grow an amazing business through some very, very smart marketing. That's just how we roll around here. That is why we exist, team. So to that end, let's get stuck right into some marketing GOLD. You know, I'm always pleasantly surprised by businesses that go that extra mile, that go above and beyond their call of duty. You know, ones who provide those 1%ers, as I refer to them, that take them from being useful to being amazingly helpful businesses. This is where I get excited. I was reminded by this concept just today when I grabbed a Bernard Fanning CD to play in the car. I know, CD, eh? That's old school. And Bernard Fanning, none less. Overseas listener, he was the ex-singer of, the lead singer of Powderfinger. Now, Bernard, and yeah, he's a business just like all of us, instead of producing a basic old plastic CD cover, had instead produced a beautiful, material-covered 16-page booklet to include lyrics and photos. It was printed on beautiful paper, all housed in a pull-out sleeve. I'm guessing all up it would have cost maybe an extra 50 cents to $1 per unit, but the additional impact was huge. Then there was the beautifully branded bottled water that was left in my car when I picked it up from the mechanic. The message on it saying, "We've topped up the fluids in your car, now it's your turn." And what about the dry cleaner I've seen who offers to press ties and scarves for free? These are the little 1%ers. All three of these ideas have a low perceived cost to the business owner, but such a high perceived value in the eyes of the customer. I call that right there marketing nirvana. In a way, it saddens me that I should be pleasantly surprised by these 1%ers. Shouldn't going that extra mile just kind of be part of the way we go about doing business? That way, you build a brand, an emotional attachment between you and your customers. And that can only result in customer loyalty, in getting talked about, in becoming an amazingly helpful business. If you offer little 1%ers in your business, then let me know. Just post a comment in the show notes for episode 176 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, because I reckon there should be more of them. And a very big welcome back to everyone in the Flying Solo community and all of you motivated small business owners all around the world. Now, you know, the biggest frustration a lot of small business owners have with their online marketing is their search results or their lack of search results. So many say to me, "Timbo, when I Google my own business, I'm not even on the first page of the results. It's freaking me out. And you keep telling me you are who Google says you are." Now, if that sounds like you, you could probably do with those 3 magic words: search engine optimization, aka SEO. And a key part of that is having the right keywords on your website, meaning that whenever someone Googles something related to your business, your page can be right up there. Put simply, SEO is a smart way of telling Google what each page on your website is all about. A great way to get this sorted is to talk at our very, very good mates at Net Registry. As proud sponsors of this show, they have an exclusive offer for you. Yep, you right there, the listener. Take advantage of their keyword strategy service today. Instead of paying $250 like everyone else, get your keywords sorted for only $99. And that's an Australian $99, guys. AUD, not USD. Head over to netregistry.com.au to get your online marketing sorted today. That's netregistry.com.au. And tell them Timbo sent you. Alrighty, let's get stuck into today's guest, so to speak. Dale Beaumont is one of Australia's most successful young entrepreneurs, having built 3 different $1 million businesses before the ripe old age of 30. Oh, that makes me feel old. Today, Dale is the founder of the Business Blueprint program, which is aimed at helping business owners simplify their path to success. Now, who doesn't want a bit of simplification in their business life? There's many reasons why I thought we'd benefit from hearing how Dale goes about it, but the main one is that I reckon we can all learn from, he's just got this sheer focus and determination to build a business he loves and a lifestyle he wants. And sometimes that sounds like kind of blue sky stuff, but this is a guy who really is walking that talk. After all, every 3 months he works, he takes 1 month off and travels the world with his wife and children. Now, who doesn't want a bit of that? Is my big question. So I started off by asking Dale which business achievement he's most proud of.
OVA, the blueprint too, baby, on the way. OVA, I got my mojo back, baby.
Well, I suppose the one I'm most proud of now is Business Blueprint, and that's a program that I run that now assists other business owners to run their business much more effectively and efficiently by embracing some of the latest tools around marketing and also technology, so they can, basically build a business that works hard so they don't have to. So that's the thing that I'm most passionate about now.
So is that because it's the current thing in your life, or it's kind of everything else, and I want to cover all those other things that help get you there? Is it because everything else kind of worked to get you there now?
Yeah, well, I think what I'm most excited about, even though I've done a lot of other things and things that I'm very, very proud of, I think I get the greatest amount of reward and satisfaction by helping other people to improve their business and in turn, improve their life. So I get a lot of joy and satisfaction of doing that. Other things that I've kind of known for is the Secrets Exposed series.
Well, we're going to come to those. You are racing ahead, my friend. You are racing ahead. I know you've just come back off a bike ride around Thailand. So you've clearly got that, that sporting thing happening right now. But listen, I want to know then, you kind of touched on it. What's your scoreboard? How do you measure how you're going?
Well, for me, one of my strongest personal values is around growth and just making sure that I'm always continuing to take things to another level. I had a mentor when I was 19 years of age, a guy called Michael Rowland, and he said, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. And that means there's no such thing as standing still in business. You can't say to yourself, well, the last 3 or 4 years have been good, I'll just do the same thing for the next 3 or 4 years. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you certainly won't grow and you won't even maintain your current level of results. You'll actually start going backwards because everyone else around you will continue to grow. It's called competition. It's called evolution. It's called change. And it's the one thing that is constantly moving and we can never stop. So for me, year on year, I want to be growing. I want to be learning. Not only do I want my income to be increasing and making more profits, but I also want to make sure that personally I am embracing the wonderful tools that we now have and new technology, and I'm looking at expansion, whether that be across Australia or now pushing globally as well. Just learning new things because I just don't want to ever get to the point whereby I just rest on my previous success. So I really love growing and taking things to another level.
So clearly, and you mentioned income, I mean, that's an obvious part of the scoreboard, but how do you measure the more emotional areas? So you can talk about growth into other countries, you can talk about adding new programs, you can talk about staff numbers, all that rational stuff. Is there a kind of emotion's much harder to measure, isn't it? But I guess is it that feeling of achievement inside that you kind of look to at the end of each year?
Yeah, it's because for me, I think of things in these 3 phases. You've got to build, then live and give. So for me, I've spent 12 years now building my business and have in turn used that business to provide a wonderful lifestyle for me and my family, to the point whereby we travel 3 or 4 months a year. And my 6-year-old son now has been to like 55 countries, and we live in a beautiful home, and we've got all the cars and all the things that you would kind of want in a material sense. However, now for me, my biggest drive and motivation is, well, once you've created this thing in business called surplus and you can't spend all the money that you make, then who do you actually want to help, and how do you want to give back. So last year and this year, I did a charity bike ride through Thailand, and this year we raised $180,000 to support the building of a orphanage in Thailand where most of the kids have HIV. And for me now, my goal is next year I want to step that up, and we did 180 this year, which was good. But next year we want to do $250,000 in funds that we want to raise and donate, and then the following year I'd like to step that up to $500,000. So for me now, it's about what I can do to give back, and that's how I'm measuring things more and more these days. Is how we can contribute and make a bigger difference.
It's really interesting, Dale. Just before we came on air, I was responding to some posts in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, and one of my members was talking about exactly that. And he's at the start of his business journey. He owns a vineyard, and he was talking. He'd just been approached by a charity to give some money. He was feeling a bit guilty, and he was kind of questioning, like, at what point, how do you decide who to give to? Should you give? Should you make it overtly and make it part of your marketing communication strategy that, hey, we support these causes? What's your kind of view on that? Because you're at the other end, which you're going, okay, I've got all I want, I've got the family, I've got all the material stuff, and now I'm ready to just give back. But what about those businesses who are listening, who are just thinking, how do I integrate social responsibility into my marketing?
Well, I think the important thing to say there is that you can give at every single level. And even when you're starting, I think it's a really good habit to get into to allocate a percentage. And it doesn't have to be huge. It could be just 3% or 5% of the money that you make, and to give. I don't think that it's when I'm rich and when I'm successful and when I've got all this money, then and only then I'll give back. So set a number, even if it's small, just start somewhere. And then, like you've got a goal to increase the size of your business, you should have a goal to increase the size of your giving as well. But I do also believe in the principle, and you would have heard this many times when you get on an airplane, you got to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. And I do believe that, you've got to make sure that because you can just give and not have, and not be reinvesting back into your business as well. So I was, for the first 7 or 8 years of my business, very obsessed around, growing wealth for me and for my family, and about being able to provide. And we've, done that now. And so now it's about, well, who else can I, put on their oxygen mask, and who else can I help and make a difference? So the key thing is that you can start at any level, and then just step it up. As far as whether you want to let customers know, I think it's important that you let other people know, not in a boastful way that I'm giving all this money to charity, but I think it does help to inspire others to go, well, I can do that as well. I don't think that it should be something you should shy away from, but I don't think it's something that you should obsess over either. But no. I think it's important for people to know that your business is one that actually cares about making a difference, and you're someone that's proud to have that as part of your offering. Yeah,
I agree. There's philanthropy and there's corporate social responsibility, and I think philanthropy is where you do give without anyone knowing. That's this kind of premise. Whereas I think the corporate social responsibility, I think it's an absolutely valid thing to integrate it to part of your marketing message, particularly when you're a smaller business. And that's many people listening to this conversation are small business owners. They've got modest budgets, modest marketing budgets. So you've got to make every marketing play work. So, yeah, interesting conversation. Now, Dale, I want to go back a little bit, mate. I want to go back to when you were 9. Okay. We go right back there. And now you're a member of the New South Wales gymnastics squad. You're training 34 hours a week, and you went on to become then the national aerobics champion. Now, I don't want to talk about either of those sports, but they did teach you, from what I can gather, a lot. You said it taught, and I want to kind of interrogate each of these 3 things. It taught you the value of discipline, hard work, having a coach, and actually delayed gratification. There's a lot in there, mate. Let's first talk about... all the listeners already work hard. Whether they're working on the most important things, that would be another question. So maybe let's talk about discipline. What do you mean by it taught you discipline?
Well, I think that, there's a saying that, you make your habits and then your habits make you. And I think that's really important to make sure that, discipline is about making a decision once and sticking to it and having the ability to be able to follow through. And another saying that I really love is do the thing you said you would do well after the mood you set it in has gone. Because it's very easy to sort of say, oh, okay, I'm going to get fit and I'm going to do, this, and you're feeling all motivated and you get out and you go for a run and you maybe do it once or twice, but then you're going to feel like one day, just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
And that feeling is gone about being, motivated and inspired to exercise. But it's when that feeling around the motivation is gone, you still have to show up every single time. And as business owners, we have to do that. We have to.
So how do you do that? That's a great, your exercise example is a prime one. I also find that with my keynotes where, I make it, before I go on stage, I take this mindset that I want everyone in the audience to be just wanting to jump out of their seats, race back to their workplace and start implementing. And generally they do, right? That's the feeling there and then. Whether they maintain that feeling post the conference that I've spoken at and actually is another thing. And I'm guessing maybe 20% do of the 100% that felt motivated.
Yeah, I think when I refer to that saying that you make your habits and your habits make you, so what I do is if I go, this is important to me, let's say, for example, exercise, or it could be checking your, cash flow position, or it could be making sure that I'm going to record interviews or write emails for my database. It could be whatever it is. If it's important to you, then what I normally do is like to plan things in 3-month cycles, not from kind of week to week. And so with my personal trainer, for example, I look through my diary and I know all the times I'm going to be traveling and the times I'm going to be running events and etc. So I gave him, here are the dates for the next 3 months, and put them in the diary, and that's it. They're locked in, given to my trainer, and that's it. Now, I don't have to think anymore. All I've got to do is just execute. I decided that it was important to me. It is now in my diary, and therefore I've got to follow through and stick to those plans. Ideally, whatever happens, the only thing that will get in the way of that is my family. I got a call yesterday from Catherine saying, look, you got to go pick Finn up from school. So I did, change some plans. But other than that, I always follow through. If it's in the diary, it has to be done. You've just, you've got to stick to it, because I made a decision once and it was important to me then. So it's important to me now, and I've got to follow through. Otherwise, you just end up practicing the principle of, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a terrible place to be in business, because you're always chasing your tail. You're spinning your wheels. You're not actually moving forward.
You are we caught up a couple of weeks ago in Sydney, and you showed me a calendar. I think you had a number of calendars actually. You are a disciplined planning machine, Dale. You had a social media calendar, which I think, from memory, kind of detailed what post you were going to make on a day 3 weeks in the future. You knew exactly where you were going to be. You knew exactly what post would be relevant. I hope I'm not revealing all your secrets here, mate, but I just thought, and you touched on it then, and I'm trying to think of a past guest who I had on, David Allen. He made a similar comment, which is like, in all that planning, someone once said to him, you must have to be thinking constantly, and he says, I have nothing on my mind, because It's all been captured elsewhere, and when the time comes to action or implement it, it gets actioned or implemented. But the opposite of that is many of us who are going, okay, I've got to do that next week. And then an hour later, right, I've got to do that next week. And an hour later, like that, it's unhelpful thinking, isn't it?
Exactly right. So it's a matter of, making the decision once, putting it in the diary, and then not thinking about it. You don't need to think about it. For me, I wake up in the morning, okay, what have I got to do today? Look at my diary. These were the priorities that have been set, and now I've just got to stick to the plan. So I don't have to waste valuable brain power by thinking about all the things that I need to do. It's just a matter of just executing. And the other thing is actually taking time out. And this is another thing that, I got from that book, Getting Things Done, that you mentioned, is around actually putting planning time in the diary. So because otherwise your brain is it's racing and it's going all the time, because you're constantly planning on the go. Put an hour aside and do all your thinking, all your planning, all your decision making, and get whoever you need to around you to do that. And then you don't need to do it on the fly all the time, because it just takes up a lot of brain power and time. So the idea is to think less but do more.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, now one of the other things that all your time in the gymnastics and aerobics world taught you was the importance of having a coach. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, just for me, it just makes so much sense. It was so obvious. There's a gymnast. There's two ways to do anything. One is through trial and error, and the other is through following a recipe of someone else that has been there and done it before. Every professional athlete knows this, because if I wanted to be at elite level gymnast and I want to do it myself, it could take me 30 or 40 years. Now, in sport, you don't have 30 or 40 years. You've got 10, maybe 15 if you're lucky. So the only way to compress 40 years worth of learning into 10 years is by having a coach, someone that's taken hundreds and hundreds of athletes down that path before and knows what works and knows what doesn't, and can show you the actually formula or recipe for success. So every athlete knows this, and that's why every athlete has a coach. But very few business owners, probably less than 5%, have a coach or a mentor or someone that has been down that road hundreds of times before and knows how to save you a lot of headaches and time and money. Now, of course, it does cost for a coach or for a mentor. However, what most people don't realize is you're going to pay for your education in one of two ways. You'll pay for it up front, or you'll pay for it by mistakes, and you'll pay for it by ignorance. And that's a lot more costly. So I have always had coaches and mentors throughout my business career, and that's the only reason why I've been able to get to this position, having built many successful businesses, is because I've been able to go up to people and ask them questions and ask them for their advice. You can do it through books, you can do it through CDs, DVDs, podcasts, or you can do it through attending live events and seminars. And that's another thing that another book about time management or productivity is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's one of the habits is to sharpen the saw, sharpen the axe.
I love that one. I love it.
We can talk about that for half an hour. But
yeah.
The principle there is that if you're working with a blunt axe, you're only working on 20 or 30% of your effectiveness. And most business owners are like that. They don't want to take time out of their business because they're too busy working, in their business to get out of it. So prioritizing actually coaching sessions or mentoring or education or learning is really, really important to do that. And for every hour you invest in that, I think you get 10 hours back in increased productivity, not in the short term, but over the medium to long term. As one quick example, I published a series of books called the Secrets Exposed series, which we published 15 books in the space of 3 years. And to do that, I got some mentoring from a guy called Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote the series of books called the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Mm-hmm. I was able to take that information. It cost me about $6,000 to fly to America and to attend his workshops and to buy all these CDs and DVDs. So it cost me $6,000. But in the next 3 years, I'd sold over 250,000 books. And if I was to be very conservative and say that I only made $3 profit per book, that's $700,000 return from a $6,000 investment. And I honestly believe if I hadn't have done that, I would still be 5 years later trying to figure it out myself. Why would you when someone else has already done it?
Tell me, that's a great story, Dale. I want to just go a bit deeper there, because you're a self-confessed personal development junkie. Mm-hmm. Other successful people that are, and I'm guessing too, when you talk about coach/mentor, this is not necessarily one-on-one. This could be, as you say, going to the Chicken Soup for the Soul Fellows conference, training course. It could be reading a book. I mean, coaches and mentors can take many forms, yeah?
Absolutely. And sometimes you take lots of ideas and blend them together and mm-hmm. form your own opinion based on 5 or 6 other people. So you don't have to follow one person blindly. It's not like you're worshipping someone or putting someone else on a pedestal. It's learning from everybody, taking it, filtering it through your brain and what you want, and then making your best decision.
Past guests, successful business owners like you who have been on this show have also been self-confessed personal development junkies. David Warren from Sydney Tall Ships comes to mind. He spent $100,000 floating down a river in Fiji with Tony Robbins. This guy. But look, his business is he's cranking it. And what I'm interested to know, and this is a discussion that's happening in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum right now, is that. And there are some coaches in there. It seems to leave a bad taste in people's mouths when the personal development / life coach, business coach discussion happens. And I get like sports people just have them. It's they couldn't perform at that elite level without their coach. And I'm just wondering why so many small business owners either defer or decline this idea of a coach/mentor.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think a lot of business owners by nature are they're independent thinkers, and they like to be the boss. Now, there's a time to be the boss, and when you're at the office, you've got to take charge. But sometimes people, they just have their blinkers on, and they just take it way too far, and they end up making a lot of dumb decisions that they don't need to. If they just spent half an hour talking to someone else that's done it before, that could save you weeks or months of time. So it's not about being, I don't want to be the hero. I want to get stuff done. I want to grow my business.
Can I suggest, just put it out there, that maybe the coaching industry has gone about marketing itself the wrong way? There is a lot of cringe attached to it.
Sure, and people do have taken it, way too far. And it's not about. I don't like when I say I'm a committed student of personal development. I'd put my hand up to that. Whether I say I'm a self-development junkie,
your words when we were talking yesterday.
Yeah, I'm happy to put myself in that box, but it kind of makes the assumption that you're kind of like almost like a cult following someone blindly, and
correct.
You do anything that they tell you. That's not the case.
It also says that it's the means, not the end. And I know for you, you're looking for the end. You're not living this life to go to the next personal development course.
Absolutely. And there's a time to learn, and there's a time to earn as well. So there's been times when I've said, that's it for the next 6 months. I'm not going to any courses or seminars. I just need more rubber on the road, and I've got to implement and get stuff done. So, a junkie is always looking for the next hit. I wouldn't say that, but I'm committed to continual growth. So therefore, I will keep investing in that area.
Love it, mate. Now, listen, one last thing that you learned from that whole sporting part of your life is this concept of delayed gratification. Can you tell us about that? You touched on it earlier, but is that saying to me you just got to put in the hard yards in order to enjoy the blue skies? As an employee, and most people, that before they go into business, they have us, work as an employee. And I remember it was work, get paid, work, get paid, work, get paid, work, get paid. However, when you enter your own business, it's work, 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 and there might not be any pay. And so, then you go work, 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 and then you get paid. When you go, thank God for that. And then you go work, 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 paid, and then hopefully work, paid, work, paid. And then the benefit of business is you get to a point where you go paid, 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 paid. You might have 50 paids in a row, and you go, whoa, that's the benefit, and you'll end up over time getting paid a lot more for the work that you've done. And I won't talk about myself too much here, but last financial year we probably earned the equivalent to 10 years of maybe even 20 years of someone's salary in 1 year. Whose salary? There's lots of salaries out there.
Lots of salaries. This is called the average Australian salary. Yeah. So we've got paid a lot more for the work that we did, but there were times whereby I was up to 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning working away, getting paid nothing. And sometimes, you could think to yourself, well, why am I doing this? I'm not earning anything. Yes, you are. You're just going to pick up that check in 6 months' time or 10 months' time or 2 years' time. And you've got to have that foresight to stay in the race and to keep going and to really stay committed. And I understand this idea of delayed gratification. It's not going to happen overnight, but you've got to stay focused and committed.
That's not also. It's bigger than just going, okay, I just got to keep working hard because it'll come. It is about working smarter.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, and it's about changing your approach if something is not working. And, there's a lot of things that I have done really well, but there's also a lot of mistakes that I've made. And
what's the biggest one?
Wow.
What do you just? I started off by asking you, what are you most proud of? Ashamed is the wrong word, but what do you reflect back on and just, oh, geez, really? Did I do that?
Yeah, I think I would have just loved to have been doing what I'm doing now, probably sooner.
Yeah, well, really, hindsight's wonderful, Dale.
Hindsight is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And, there's certain businesses that I would have loved to invested in at certain times. I've been I told my clients 3 years ago, look, you should be getting on to cloud-based accounting, and you should get into Xero and their business. But I should have bought shares in Xero.
Having those shares done
ago.
unbelievably well.
So I was kicking myself to say, why was I recommending it without taking a position? I think that. There was the question there.
Well, I'm just interested to know what you're least proud of. I mean, we've all missed buying the worst house in the best street at the cheapest price. But what about something kind of where you've kind of just thought that I just did the wrong thing? You know, I really kind of mucked up there.
Yeah. Well, with there's so many different things that I have made as mistakes. But if I didn't make them, I wouldn't have had that lesson, and I wouldn't have got on to where I've got on to now. But look, I'm pretty happy with my position overall, where I am now, and I've still got a lot of time on my side and things that I want to achieve. So it's about taking everything that I've done and keep moving forward.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's talk about moving forward, because then at the age of 19, you did write your first book, The World at Your Feet. And you co-founded, I guess, what was your first business? Tomorrow's Youth International. Sounds like a very early 90s name to me, that one. What was that all about? Like, why did you all of a sudden go, that's the business I'm going to start?
Well, when I finished school, because I learned the value of having coaches and mentors like we discussed through sport, I decided to go out there and go, okay, well, I want to find coaches for life, for success, for business or creating wealth. And so I went to lots of courses and seminars at the age of 17, 18, 19. And I had so many people come up to me and saying, wow, if only I had learnt this when I was your age, because most of these people were in their 40s, 50s and 60s, which seemed at the time, these people were like ancient.
Careful.
Yeah, I know. That was back then. But anyway, so I thought to myself, well, wouldn't it be cool if all this great stuff around success and motivation...
Can I just say, I mean, you've told me this story. They were quite distraught, weren't they? I mean, these are people who were...
a lot of people coming up to me with tears in their eyes because they had lived a life of regret. They'd lived a life of saying, I wish I did this and I wish I did that, and now they didn't so much have time on their side. So they were looking at me, fresh-faced and starry-eyed, thinking, "Wow, it's so great that you've got all of this information at your age." And so that inspired me to go, well, I'd really love to be able to help more young people. So I started to run courses. The first course that I ever ran was at a youth drop-in center, and we had 3 people come along to my very first seminar, and then the numbers kind of grew, and we're teaching things like goal setting and leadership and communication skills and money management and working in, how to work in teams, how to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts.
You're teaching this?
Yeah, at the age of 19 we started, and it was fantastic. We grew that over a period of 6 years.
Where's all the knowledge coming from?
Well, it was just going to courses and learning it myself, filtering it through my own values and beliefs, and then teaching it. And so, and making it in a way that's kind of fun and exciting for young people. So at our events, we had like smoke machines and laser lights, and we had like a DJ, and we played movie clips, and we just made it really, really fun and in a way that young people would really connect with. We had bean bags and stuff like that. And
can I just pull you up on a point? You said, you filtered all that learning, you then filtered through your own set of values and beliefs. And I think that's really interesting. One of the exercises that I do with people inside the forum is just going through with their brand character, getting very clear on what their brand is all about. And part of that is understanding what are those 3, 4, 5 guiding principles that really determine how you go about things, in your business life, in your personal life. You come across to me, Dale, as someone who is crystal clear on a set of values and beliefs, and do use it actively in all your decision making. Am I right?
Yeah, that was a very important process for me to go through, and I've done it both personally. What are the things that I value, and then I've also done it with my wife as well, because it's about having a set of shared values as well, and knowing what are the things that she values and I value, and where do we differ, because that's going to create some conflict if we haven't got an understanding of each other's guiding principles. And then we've also done it for our company as well, and then aligned our company values with our personal values, and now we make a lot of business decisions based on that, and that's how we recruit. That's how we incentivize staff. It's how we let staff go if we need to, and is really the backbone of our whole culture. So knowing and it does get a little bit woo-woo, and I can suggest a few people that
I love woo-woo
interviews. But it is very powerful, and it did help us to make some major decisions in our business. We looked at our values and go, we have to do this. Or some other decisions, we looked at our values and go, this is not taking us to where we want to go. This is not who we are, and we've said no to other things. So it really helps you to guide your decisions.
It is powerful, and I use the analogy. You know, when you're confronted with a decision, it may be when you meet someone for the first time. It may be when you're confronted with the opportunity to do something new in your business, bring on a new partner, a new product range, or whatever it is. If you get that internal feeling that the plates aren't meeting, you know, there's one's higher or lower than another, they're just not meeting, and you get that sense of, you know, this is not right. You know, at that point, you either choose to listen to it or not. And I know certainly in my life, there's times when I haven't listened to it, and as a result, it hasn't turned out as I'd wanted it to, and that's because I didn't listen to my values.
Yeah.
So really, it's a great exercise to go through, Dale. We are now in 2005, and I'm fascinated by this. You created this Secrets Exposed series where you spoke to successful people, got up close and personal with them, and as a result, created a series of 15 books. Now, this is a little bit close to my heart. I too have spoken to as of this interview, 175 successful people. I haven't turned it into a series of books. It's on the to-do list, but tell me about how you did that.
Yeah, so I'd always, like we spoke about at the very beginning, believed in the value of having coaches and mentors. And then I asked myself the question, why don't this principle is so important, yet why don't people have coaches and mentors and get advice from others? And I concluded that for a lot of people, they either they don't know how to go about it, or they intimidated around going up and asking people for advice. It would be time consuming. So I thought, how could I make it easier for people? What about if I went out there and did all the hard work? What about if
you've identified your why? That's really interesting. Just there is a kind of great lesson. You've done it from a kind of point of, you know, your why.
Yep. And I thought, if I go out there and do all the hard work, interview people, put it together in a book and make it accessible to anyone at $30 instead of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars flying all around the country and getting interviews with, 15 or 20 people per book, that would take people months and thousands of dollars, but they could get it instantly for $30. So I thought that would be a really great product, help a lot of people. And at the same time, if I did a really good job, then it would benefit me as well. So first year, we published 2 books, and the second year we published another 2 books, and then the third year, once we got all our systems right and we kind of ramped things up, we published 11 books in 1 year, which was a feat. I think that I don't believe any other Australian author has ever did 11 books in 1 year before.
Not yet. Tell me, what's the structure of the book? I mean, is it literally question answer, or how many guests? Guests per book, and what's the structure?
Yeah, there's an average of 16 in each book. Some have got a couple more, some have got a few less. Each person, it's about 5,000 words per person. It's a question answer format. There's a bio at the beginning, so you get a detailed background of the person's history and what they've done and their accomplishments, and then it's a question and answer format. But unlike other books that I had read that simply took audio interviews and then had them transcribed and then printed, each of the what I call contributors, each of these mentors actually wrote the answers, typed the answers to their questions, and so the answers are a lot more potent, a lot more thought provoking, because they literally had to, write the words and think about every sentence that they put down on paper. So the end result is a very powerful read. Even though the books came out, a number of years ago now, a friend of mine just read one of my books the other day and said, this is still just as relevant today as what it was 5 years ago. The information in here is fantastic. So I tried to get rid of any stuff that would date the book, and it is a fantastic read. They're available through my website, or I think they're also on the iBooks store as well. If you just type in my name, Dale Beaumont, and you do a search, you can find the books there. You can get them online and we'll post them to you, or you can get the digital version and put them on your iPad.
You're way ahead of the content marketing curve, Beaumont.
Yeah, I was then, but now it's a matter of repurposing a lot of that content, and now YouTube and iTunes is really where it's at. Books are great, but people are reading a lot less these days, but they're still consuming information through other channels. So
are you? That's interesting, because we talk a lot about repurposing on this show. Have you repurposed those books? Are they for sale through audio books now? Have you turned them into a video series? How have you repurposed them?
So what I've done is definitely turn them into all the digital sort of platforms, and so you can get it on Amazon through the Kindle, and you can get it into on iTunes, etc. But still in print form. I'm now going back and interviewing a lot of people and turning them into audio interviews as well, right. Because they originally wrote the material. I didn't have audios. I had all of the written word. So now I'm going back and interviewing people and putting them into audio. Most of them now, I'm just either people buy the books, and some of the books I even give away for free on my website as downloadable gifts as well. The content is still just as relevant and valuable, but now, because I've got a great program that comes after the books, I'm happy to give a lot of that material away now, and just use it as a way to build a database and to help others.
I only reminded yesterday, I ran a webinar for forum members with Andrew Griffiths, who's also a prolific small business author in Australia, and he last year gave away 5,000 books. Yes. He talks about it being a glorified business card, and for the cost of a book, the actual unit cost of getting that book to market of $2.50, $3, it's not unusual for it to then win him contracts in the tens of thousands of dollars if you get that book into the right hands. So just yesterday, reminded of just how powerful a book is, and in fact, the whole webinar was breaking through 10 kind of limiting beliefs that stop many of us from putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboards as it is these days. So Dale, and by the way, listeners, I'm talking to Dale Beaumont. He is the founder of businessblueprint.com, which I want to talk to him about now, because it's kind of where you've taken it. It's where you are now. You started it in 2010, and it's listeners are going to be really interested in this. You have created 400 step-by-step training videos. You're prolific, and you've got 100 plus one-page process maps that just really help any business owner get it right. Yeah,
it's a fantastic program. How it sort of started was because I had done all these books and created some good income, but I'd done it really cleverly with using systems and automation tools and having a good database and email marketing and all of these sort of what I call now smart tools. And people kept asking me questions, Dale, how are you doing this and how are you doing that? And so I used to invite people around to my office, and I'd run these little workshops where I'd teach people the stuff that I was doing, and they were just blown away and amazed and said, oh, can you teach me more? Can you teach me more? So eventually I decided to put on a few free events, which went really, really well. People just loved them. And I was just teaching as much as I possibly could about everything that took me years to figure out through trial and error. I wanted other people to just know what to do from the very, very beginning, so they didn't have to go through that same process that I did. And people then said, what else can we do? How can we work with you? So I then, in 2010, created a program called Business Blueprint, and it started. Do you start?
Can I just when because you've done it, you've had a number of programs. Is there a point where you just draw a line in the sand and you say, okay, it's now clear what my next move is? And so, for example, you kind of put to rest secrets exposed, and then you've gone, it's clear now that this thing needs something like a business blueprint is what I have to do. Is it a really concerted decision? That's not the right word, like a definite decision, or it just kind of happens?
Yeah, it's definitely a decision, but I make a little decision and look for validation, and then make a bigger decision and look for validation, and then if I practice the principles from the lean startup, also known as creating a minimum viable product, just to make sure that people actually want it. There's a saying that I love, and that is that if you sell people what they need, you'll almost always fail. If you find out what people want and give it to them, you'll almost always succeed. And so that's really what I do, is find out what people want. So I put something out there, and if people respond, I go, oh, this is kind of interesting, and then do it again and again, and just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so I was just led in this direction of Business Blueprint. So many people wanted to access my knowledge, and also get access to training videos that I had produced now, and all of the nuts and bolts and the sort of nitty gritty stuff of business, how to upload to YouTube, or how to use Google Analytics, or how to do split testing on your website. So these are things that I had to learn for my own business. And so I created step-by-step training videos at the beginning for my own staff around how to do all these key processes within a business. But then so many other people saw what I was doing and loved them and said, can we have those training videos for our staff, and how can we just get access to what you have built? And so that's what led me to creating Business Blueprint, and it's something that I totally love. It's the business that I would be doing if I did have $50 million, because I love business, I love education, I love giving back and helping others. So I'm really passionate.
Because obviously one thing you didn't mention about Business Blueprint or in any detail is that you do bring your tribe together. In fact, you showed me some wonderful photos the other day of an event you had on a large cruise ship out of Sydney, and went out for 3 days and sailed around and came back. Now, knowing you like I do, Business Blueprint in the form of 400 how-to videos and 100 plus sheets of step-by-step processes, there's no real emotion there. And you seem to me as someone who likes to see people be their best. Yeah. So am I right?
Yeah, well, I really believe in bring the best of live with also the online together, online and offline. So we have 4 live events. We've got clients now from right across Australia, also New Zealand, and we have a few clients from Singapore as well. And we get together face to face at a live event 4 times a year. Right. So we do that every 90 days.
And is that your true love of Business Blueprint?
It is, because something really special happens when you're in a room of like-minded people. There's, whether you believe in all of the woo-woo stuff, definitely rooms have an energy. And when you're around highly motivated people that are just like buzzing, something changes inside you when you just start seeing bigger than what you're maybe seeing right now. And we have different parts of the events where people come up and share their success story. There was a guy just at our last event came up and he talked about how he just won a $200,000 contract for his business, and everyone gave him a big round of applause, and then he explained how he actually did it, and people writing down notes going, I could do that in my business. It's fantastic. And isn't
it funny, like that energy, that dynamic that gets created? You've apologised almost a couple of times for the woo-woo, and I've done it on this show numerous times. Like, sorry to get a bit woo-woo on you, but I think we've got to give a little bit more credence to that woo-woo. And what do we mean by woo-woo? It's just that kind of that shift in energy, that stuff that happens when you lean in and really commit to doing something. It's like, I was talking yesterday on this webinar that if you just, using content marketing as an example, if it doesn't give you a quick hit. It doesn't. If you create content today, you are not going to get inquiry tomorrow. But over time, if you really do lean into it, not only are you're going to get inquiry, but you're going to get other things are going to happen in your business. New partners will approach you, the media will approach you, you'll get speaking opportunities, and you've kind of that's the woo-woo, and you've just kind of got to believe in that, don't you?
Yeah, I think that if people have all the information in the world and they end up doing nothing, most of these people end up professors at university and never building a business for themselves. They know all the knowledge, but they're just not motivated to do it.
Hello to all you professors.
If you're out there, probably not even listening to this because you're already full of all your own knowledge and you don't need to learn anything else. Yeah. Anyway, but if, on the other hand, if you have all the motivation but no information about how to do stuff, that's not helpful either. But you do need both. Mindset is very important. Having the right motivation, being inspired to actually do something is really where it's at. And, there's a lot of, there's a guy called Matt Church that came along and spoke at one of our events, and he talks about, there's all different things we have to measure in business, return on cash, and you get your, cash flow analysis and all these, stuff, all these numbers. He said the most important thing that you should be measuring in your business, if you're a small business owner, is the sparkle in your eyes. Nice. Do your eyes sparkle when you talk to someone? Because people aren't buying what you're selling; they're buying you. And if you are dull, if you are just like, your knuckles are dragging along the ground every time you go to work, you're not going to inspire anyone, and you're not going to make any sales. No one wants to be around you. So the most important thing is, are you motivated? Are you inspired? Do people feel better when they're in your space? And if the answer is yes to that question, your business is going to grow. If it's not, then your business is going to, your business is going to go backwards.
I love that. I love the sparkle in the eye criteria. We'll add that to the scoreboard. In fact, if you could create some little machine, Dale, that does give you a sparkle rating, that'd be really good.
It would be good.
One thing you've been very good at, and to all service providers listening right now, listen up in particular, because you have been very good at taking the intangible and making it tangible, and we call that in the trade productizing, and I don't think enough service providers do that. You've done it via books, courses, events, and I think it's this whole concept that I've heard you say before. One of the things you're all about is how can you replace yourself? You're constantly asking yourself, how can you replace yourself? And clearly turning your knowledge, because I guess the opposite of what you're doing now would be you just doing one-on-one the whole time.
Yeah, if you put me in the box of, business coaches, and I do help other business owners, but most coaches would work with maybe 8 to maximum 12 clients at any one time. Right now, I'm working with 350 clients, and, I'm still able to provide a massive value and impact to those people, because I've built a leveraged coaching model, because I've done a lot of the hard work in taking my knowledge and putting it into tools. Some of those are online step-by-step training videos. We've got over 400 of those now. We've also got over 100 one-page process maps and flow charts. We've got book summaries that we have. We've got audio book summaries that people get access to as well. I've got about, another probably about all up, maybe about 75 other frequently asked question videos. So all the questions that people ask me, I pull out a camera, I answer it, I put it up on the website, and people can search for it and they can find answers to those questions. Or if they email us, we just say, hey, we've got a video on that. Here's the link, check it out. So I'm constantly very obsessive about asking myself the question, will I ever have to answer this question again? Will I ever have to teach someone else this? And if the answer is yes, I spend an extra half an hour or whatever it takes to make sure that I've captured that, so that 50 other people could benefit from that information, and I don't have to take that time and explain it one-on-one.
It's funny, just before we came on air, I was mucking around with Google Hangouts. In fact, one of my forum members, Tom, very kindly put a 4-minute video in the forum using Google Hangouts, explaining how to use Google Hangouts to create, to answer frequently asked questions. And wow, this is one of the limiting beliefs I talk about with small business owners, is they think everything's, in this new world of marketing, everything's hard, it's technical. Mate, I honestly, creating that video in Google Hangouts was so easy, and you literally hit like 3 or 4 buttons, completing 2 fields, then recording it. Once you hit stop, it uploads to Google, and you have got a video on YouTube because it's connected. And I mean, this is powerful. So, to your point of, if you are being asked a question over and over again, there's videos in Business Blueprint that'll explain you how to do it. And there's also the opportunity to just go and use something like Google Hangout, a free tool that has a lot of traffic attached to it. Hey, Dale, mate, we've gone so over time, and I just can't believe it, because this has been a very, very... there's been marketing gold just dripping from the headquarters of Small Business Big Marketing, really. I want to finish by asking you, does anything scare you?
Yeah.
You seem like a pretty tough guy.
Yeah, I think because I've done lots of different courses, I think I'm pretty... definitely got a healthy amount of confidence, but not in a way that I see myself being above anybody else. But I'll back myself. I'm confident in my own abilities. I suppose what scares me is not really achieving my full potential. Because I believe that, I've been given this mind and this body and this voice and this brain for a reason. And I want to just be able to know that I did the best that I possibly could, with it. And so for me, it's not so much about, in competition as a gymnast, it's about competing against other athletes and becoming number one. But for me now, I just want to compete against myself and do the best that I possibly can.
So do you have moments where you actually go, oh, geez, I don't know whether I'm going to get there where I want to be? Is there little kind of butterfly moments?
Yeah, I always, for me, I would just I'll figure it out. I'll talk to whoever I need to talk to. I'll read whatever I have to read. I just know that I'll get there. Not in a way of The Secret. I'll just attract it into my life and it'll all just happen. It's no, I'll get out there and I'll make it happen.
Hey, that's woo woo. What's wrong with The Secret?
Well, it's about, you got to follow through and you got to put in the hard yards and you've got to actually, make it happen. And it's not going to, just thinking about going to the gym doesn't make you fit. You got to show up. You got to pick up the weights. You got to do some reps.
Right there. Sure do.
Yeah, but the other thing is that I'm always conscious of is that it's about success and achievement, but within the limitations of that. If you just obsess about that area of how I can grow my business and achieve all of my personal financial goals, that's acting like I'm an island and I'm not. I have a wife, I have kids, I've got responsibilities at the office and family and extended family, people that I love and I care about. So it's how can I achieve my personal goals, but within the limits of making sure that I'm still there for everybody else as well. So I suppose, in a way, I have relaxed off on some of my other goals. I know that with great success does have a lot of challenges. You look at the divorce rate of billionaires and the number of dysfunctional relationships that they have, and that don't talk to their kids anymore. So you've got to be careful to say that, yeah, it's one thing to look at someone and go, wow, they've got a lot of money and they're super successful. But if you look at some of their other areas of their life, such as their health, relationships, family, it's terrible. So it's about, it's not about having it all. It's about having what really matters and deciding what's important to you and make sure that you do everything you possibly can, but in a balance as well, so you're not letting any balls drop.
Do you ever get the giggles?
Yeah.
What makes you giggle? I love the giggles. I love the release of endorphins that it gives me. What makes you giggle?
What makes me giggle?
Because not everyone giggles, right? I mean, we laugh.
Yeah.
But when do you giggling is laughing uncontrollably. So,
yes.
Tears running out the eyes.
Yeah. Well, we just did this charity bike ride, which was great last week in Thailand. And we had 29 people that were all entrepreneurs and business owners. And
middle-aged men in Lycra?
Yeah. And some women as well.
Right.
Over half were ladies, which was great. But we just had so much fun together. We got like-minded people together, and you are able to, make a few jokes and poke fun at people, and everyone, understand that if we're just having a laugh. It was great. We laughed constantly, and we had just an absolute blast. Loved hanging out with my kids as well. They say the funniest things, and so that also makes me laugh big time.
Good on you, mate. Well, Dale, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for taking us behind the scenes of your journey at the ripe old age of, what are you, 33?
32 at the moment.
Oh, sorry, mate. I thought you were a bit older. Love it. So, Dale, businessblueprint.com is where you'll find him, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to having you back on next year when you've started your next empire. Thanks, Dale.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
OVA, the blueprint 2, baby, on the way. OVA, I got my mojo back, baby. OVA.
Wow. I will apologise right there, team. I should have posted a warning at the top of that fireside chat with Dale. It would have read something like, beware, some serious business motivation ahead. Now, I'm about to summarise my top 3 learnings from that chat, but let me quickly tell you about our very, very good mates at Swiftly.com. And I say quickly because not only does it rhyme with Swiftly, but it's exactly what they're all about. Small design fixes done real fast. You see, Swiftly is ideal for altering your business card details, logo alterations, banner ad updates, even photo touch-ups. And who doesn't love a good photo touch-up? You simply upload the artwork that needs fixing, tell them what needs doing, and boom, within 1 hour, it's done. All for just $15. Check them out. Swiftly.com. That is Swiftly, Swiftly. So, as usual, there were many, many learnings that I took from that fireside chat with Dale Beaumont. But let me share my top 3. Number 1. I love his philosophy of build, live, give. It's like a 3-step process in the creation of your business life, I guess. Like, work hard, build that business, defer gratification, then live and enjoy what it is you've created, and then get to a point, which wouldn't it be great if we could all get to that point of just purely having a business that then gives back to society. So like that, build, live, give. Number 2, learning. Dale's adherence, his sheer adherence to systems and automation. You know, successful business owners really do have very strong, solid systems in place. They're all about doing one thing well once, templating it, documenting it, and then having it roll out over and over again without necessarily them having to be a part of that machine, whether it's being able to outsource it, put someone else on to do it, but just absolutely document systems and the automation of those systems so that you can remove yourself from the business. And I must say, a consistent theme amongst business owners that I've spoken to, successful business owners, is that they are very good at removing themselves from the day-to-day running of the business, and they can focus on bigger things and maybe even, dare I say, lifestyle things. Number 3, learning. Dale's commitment to personal development. I've kind of categorised it into 4 things: attend, listen, read, participate. You know, if you're listening to this, you're already into personal development, because I'd like to think this show is a little bit about that in itself. Hey, I like to entertain, like to educate, but also there's personal development in there as well. Listen to other podcasts, listen to other audio books, attend workshops, expos, industry events, get out there, show up. Number 3 part of commitment into personal development: read. Have a book, have a business book going at all times. It might be an audio book, it might be a printed book, it might be an ebook. Number 4, participate. Participate. That's what the forum's all about. You know, like, there is motivated business owners in there cranking out great marketing questions, answering other marketing questions of other business owners, and participating and giving back. And that's exciting to see. And it can only improve. That's why it's called personal development. So that is what I loved hearing from Dale. I hope you got some learnings too. If you did, then please go over to episode 176 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and share your learnings. Alrighty, team, that brings us to the end of another show. It's been a long one. I want to thank Net Registry and Swiftly for giving the support and love this show needs to happen. So head over to netregistry.com.au and swiftly.com for getting stuff sorted online and getting your designs sorted. I'd love to see you in the forum. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com to do that. And hang around for some listener feedback, because as usual, I'm reading some of the great reviews that I am getting off iTunes, and I want my way of giving a little bit back to those who take the trouble to do it. Until next time, may your marketing be the best marketing. See you later.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
As I do each week, I like to return a bit of the love that many listeners leave on iTunes for me in the form of listener reviews. This one's from Grumpy Grandad, who says, "Just too good and such great value, 5 stars. I've been listening to Tim for some time now, and it's such a useful resource. It is motivating and extremely helpful. As a small business, this is like having a mentor on tap, as well as a source of ideas and activities that make you think about your business and the potential of growth through marketing." Well, that's kind of appropriate given we just interviewed Dale and his strong view on mentors and coaches. Next one is from Max Smearden. Great podcast, 5 stars. I look forward to hearing the interviews that Tim does every week. Tim and his guests offer so many marketing tips that really apply to small businesses. Great case studies that really are inspiring. Highly recommended, with not 3, but 5 exclamation marks. Thank you, Mac. Love having you on board, mate. And this one's from Kelly Dreamcakes. Amazing lessons to be learnt, 5 stars. I have listened to SBBM podcasts for over 2.5 years. Wow. Thanks, Kelly. I have learnt some amazing concepts from Tim Reid and his A-class guests. I listen to the podcast every morning on my 1-hour commute to my business. I just plug my iPhone into my stereo and off I go into the world of small business big marketing. Love it. Tim Reid helps me get myself and my business into action. Really worth downloading the SBBM podcast on your phone and doing the same. He is a real motivator. Love your work, Cal. That's enough from me. See you next week, team.
Smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Just testing the microphone.